Okay, folks. So, as always, first thing you do, you read your question very carefully and you pay attention to how many marks. So, roughly 90 seconds per mark. So, this is supposed to be about a 4.5 minute question. There's no way that this one will take that long, which is why you're making up some time in questions like this that you would be using for other questions that take a little longer. So, anyway, here we go. A student needed to make a 500 centimeter cubed of a 0.25 mole per decimeter cubed solution of sodium hydroxide from the solid for a titration. Describe the process of preparing a standard solution from a solid using a volumetric flask. Now here they say a solid, right? So they're referring to the solid sodium hydroxide, right? Well, if you recall, we had just done those calculations in the one before. So it's 5 grams of the solid. All right, so we're going to put this here, but first we're just going to go through the process of how you actually do this because not everybody in every chemistry program gets to make a standard solution. Okay, so the steps to making a standard solution, the first thing that you're going to do is you are going to put your solid into a little beaker, and then you are going to dissolve that solid. So there's your solid. Then you're going to dissolve it in a small amount of water. All right, so that's the first thing that you're going to do. And so the first thing that I would put if I was doing this particular question is I would say, okay, I am going to dissolve the solid in small quantity of water. Okay, so that's the first thing I'm going to do. Then the next thing I'm going to do, so this is step one, then the next thing I'm going to do is I am going to be pouring this into that volumetric flask. Now, I don't know if you ever had a chance to use a volumetric flask, but that is what one looks like. And there is a mark on the flask that gives you precisely the volume that you want. And notice that this is a 500 centimeter cubed, so the assumption is that this is going to be a 500 centimeter cubed volumetric flask. So you're going to pour in there, and you're going to rinse or wash the beaker. So you pour it in, then you put a little water in the beaker, then you pour that in, then you put a little water in the beaker and you pour that in, and that gets all the sodium hydroxide in there. So then you will rinse or wash, and these are called tailings, like mine tailings. You don't necessarily have to use these words, but that is what it's called, into the volumetric flask. Now, then what that will do for you is it will get a small amount of liquid in the volumetric flask. Okay? Then the next thing that you're going to do is you are going to top up to the line. Now, you'll use a wash bottle, the squeezy plastic wash bottles. Then you're going to top up to the line. Now, one thing that I should have put in there, actually, it's not just water. It's actually going to be special water. It's going to be deionized water, which is very pure, and it's not going to have the salts in it that normal water has. So you're going to top up to the line with DI water. Now, the next thing, there's only 3 marks here, so that's probably your marks. But remember, they don't count off if you're wrong. They only add if you're right. So if you do know that there's another step, well, then you might as well go ahead and put it on there. After you top it up with water, you're going to take the volumetric flask and put the cap on, and you're going to turn it upside down and right side up and upside down and right side up, and that's called inversion. So then I would say invert to mix. And that's really the 4 steps of making a standard solution with that 5 grams of sodium hydroxide. So let's check the mark scheme and see how we did. All right, so number 1, fully dissolve the sodium hydroxide in distilled or deionized water. Okay, I think we did okay with that. Add or transfer the solution with washings. Okay, we did that too. Fill up to the line or mark. We did that too. Stopper the flask, turn over several times, shake, homogenize the solution. That would definitely be our invert to mix. All right, so you would definitely get all 3 marks for that particular answer.